The guy that sold me this car gave me some really sound advice. He told me to never pee in the bed you sleep in. Now, that has nothing to do with this Ferrari, which is an absolute disaster, but more with the idea of buying salvage, specifically buying crash-damaged cars and repairing them. Like myself, the seller of this car made a career off of buying these types of cars and fixing them. It's truly a dream job and one that comes with a lot of satisfaction. But in the last few years, the salvage industry has rapidly changed. This stuff looks glamorous, but it really isn't. It's not that this car can't be fixed. This one in particular is a real gamble, as you'll see in a moment, but would you rather I tell you a story about how I got this car so cheap, and that it'll be the cheapest Ferrari in the world, and how after I fix it, it'll be better than when the factory made it, or do you want the truth? This is the part where I pee the bed a bit, but hopefully learn from my mistake and never do it again. And before buying this wrecked Ferrari 599, the last crash salvage car I bought was around 3 years ago, long enough for me to forget that fixing salvage makes as much fiscal sense as a second wedding. But when a friend of mine called and offered me one of the most beautiful front-engine V12 Ferraris ever made, at a price 60% less than a good working one without the hassle of dealing with an auction, I jumped all over it, ignoring all my past salvage mistakes. Buying this long distance was the fun part, and since it was sight unseen, I didn't have much to think about. It was the moment the delivery truck showed up and I saw exactly what you're seeing right now that I was immediately reminded why I stopped buying stuff like this years ago. My mind was mangled. The days following the arrival of this car, I spent every waking hour trying to make any sense of this thing being a realistic project. I just needed a moment of clarity. So I put my brain on pause and shook up a tall, cold glass of AG1 by Athletic Greens. This nutritional drink packs 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help support long-term gut health.
Wow, I feel great. It's gotta be the AG1. You know, I made this part of my daily routine just a few weeks ago and can already feel a huge difference in my energy levels.
It's a really enjoyable way to get your daily vitamin intake. Just 1 scoop and 8 ounces of cool water, and that's it, and you're bound to feel a difference. I used to grab a midday cup of coffee just to perk me up, but over the last week or so, I really haven't felt the necessity to do so. It's probably AG1's energy-supporting ingredients, including 100% natural B12, biotin, and magnesium.
AG1 is very smooth. It's got a nice texture, along with a hint of sweetness that makes me look forward to having a glass every single morning. And right now, when you visit athleticgreens.com/samcrack or hit that link in the description, you're going to get a 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 totally free, along with 5 free travel packs, so you won't go a day without your AG1. But you got to use my link to get those benefits. It's over at athleticgreens.com/samcrack.
The part I'm most excited about is that the X6 made it home with this 599. I mean, this is one of the shiftiest cars we've towed in recent memory because the front end is basically sitting on the trailer. This car, just looking at it in this state, is a huge reminder why I haven't bought a crash car in probably well over 2-3 years now. There's a ton of work, and when you spot things like a cracked carbon ceramic rotor, which was not easy to see in the listing, when you see, well, we knew about this one, the second cracked carbon ceramic rotor and whatever is behind this destroyed wheel. This is where the stuff gets serious and the money starts to flow. We've got some oil leaking out of the front cooler here, and that's a good sign. It tells us that there's still some oil in there. As far as I know, this is a non-runner. It's obviously a non-driver with all the suspension damage, so we won't really know what we've got until we get in there and start it up. Now, in order to get into the car, we've got to lift it up because the fenders for the trailer are blocking the doors currently, as long as this engine runs. That's the big key here. This car will just drive off the trailer. Well, we're still several $1,000s and several days away from that happening. So let's go ahead, jack this car up, get inside, and see what's broken.
So if you look at the way this wheel is sitting, it's crooked off that way, so I'm guessing we're gonna have a bent tie rod or something. I looked kind of underneath whenever I was jacking the car up, and it doesn't appear that there's any cracked control arms on this side, which is a good thing because a tie rod's gonna be a lot cheaper than a control arm. But we'll get a better look here when the wheel and tire come off. Somebody put 22-inch wheels on this car, which I imagine probably didn't help during the impact, but if you look at what just impact does, I mean, it cracks a brake rotor like this. Mind you, being that it's a carbon ceramic rotor, it is extremely pricey. It is a lot less dense than a steel rotor, and they are very brittle. If you were to just drop this from waist level on the ground, it would crack. Obviously, this one got taken out in the accident, and unfortunately, it's not the only one. All right. So we look here. I mean, nothing is obvious. Our link is straight. The axle shaft is all intact. The tie rod looks good. The upper control arm looks pretty darn good. I think it's just the wheel that appears to be all out of whack. Well, that saves us probably about $8,000 right off the bat. Good. This corner's good. So just to get it off the trailer, this corner's going to be good. Will they find something when they go align it? We'll wait till we get there. Obviously, all we need to mark down is that we need a new brake rotor. The passenger rear is actually really good. You can see the wheel looks pretty straight, unlike the opposite one. It was bent in right there, so that's probably where it made some impact, whatever this car ran over. We're not even going to take this rim off. I imagine everything behind here is pretty good. So we're going to move on to the front, where our real problems are definitely going to be. But again, it'll get us one step closer to getting this off the trailer and making it look like an actual car again. We're gonna go phone mode here and look inside. Man, this is so strange. Again, how in the heck is this link right here? How is that straight? The top control arm from here, it looks fine. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised considering. Look at the way that this tire is sitting. Something is snapped off though, because you could just see how loose everything is. Did the knuckle crack? All right, there's our issue right there. Lower control arm completely just snapped out of place. So we're gonna need a whole new lower control arm, but the side that looks the worst on the car, not so bad. Now let's check out this side. On the driver's side, again, lower control arm completely just snapped like a twig underneath here. So we're gonna need one of those. From this angle, the upper looks completely twisted. Possibly a tie rod as well. This one really got pushed back far. And the big issue is none of that. It's this right here. This is our front lower subframe or engine cradle. And I've got to look at what this looks like on a diagram, but that's going to have to be replaced. And that's not going to be fun nor cheap. Now, as long as a piece of our engine isn't missing along with the cradle, we'll be fine. But that's going to be probably our major mechanical repairs, disassembling everything that is fitted to that cradle and then putting it all back together. I did that on a Corvette once and it wasn't too bad, but we'll see. This is a very large engine. It could pose a few problems for us. Let's see, does that get us enough room to get in here?
Once we got the door open and we got in the cabin, we were able to extract this fender, which was folded like a taco. Now, I don't know if it was like this just so they could shove it in the interior during transport, or if it was damaged like this in the accident. It's just really strange that the passenger side, the side that seems structurally sound, is the one where the fender is gone, and the driver's side, which is where the frame is all busted up, has a fender in near perfect condition. Do me a favor and drop a comment and let me know what you think happened during the accident with this Ferrari.
That's a good sound. Hey, go look at the front, Sage. See if there's any oil coming out of it. What's it say? No. None? No. Inertia switch triggered. Okay, that's why it won't start. Okay, so the inertia switch is usually on Ferraris located under here somewhere, or yeah, no, it's got to be under here somewhere. That's why it won't start. Good. Okay. Our inertia switch is triggered. We'll leave that for right now.
Now, considering this car probably ran up on a curb while moving at a decent speed, I'd say it's not the worst salvage car to fix. The suspension, especially in the rear, seems better than expected. If we can repair the frame and not replace it, we can save a ton of dough, and from there, it's a bunch of parts that need to be removed and replaced. But here's the problem, a problem I grossly underestimated. The other Ferraris I've spent a good amount of time fixing are Ferrari 360s, which is probably the most common Ferrari in existence. More common means more used parts around, and with more parts, the prices are, well, let's just call them tolerable. This standard goes completely out the window with a V12 car like this 599. Look at what the only fender that I can find in the US costs. How about a headlight? A control arm on a BMW might cost you $100 brand new. Check out the used price on one for this car. And since this car comes with the same engine straight out of the couple $1 million Enzo, we better pray it was unaffected by the crash.
So this fender is a lot of money. The rubber of the tire is actually jammed up in the frame section of the fender support here. So I should have a larger crowbar, but I just want to basically kind of just push it out without touching the fender if I can. There we go. Okay. This is still recording shit.
You think turning the wheel, man, you can actually pull it outwards a little bit?
There it is, come on. Wow. All right. Wow, now I can finally see in there. And it's